Hello and welcome to the Third and the Don Football Show. I am Joe, with me is Cecil, as always. Here to talk NFL football, fantasy football, and a lot of other things, playoff picks, probably some new TV show ideas that we had over the weekend watching the games together. A lot of stuff to get to, but first, Cecil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I did fall again this week in one of my leagues, our Game House League, actually. It was very sad. Pat Mahomes, Aaron Jones got hurt, scored 0.8 points for me. So yeah, it was a rough week there. I lost at the end of the day by about 15 fantasy points. It hurts, but luckily there's no money in the league. It's just for pride. But my pride is hurt. But my big money 14-man PPR league. That's right, 14 league members. So it's depth is key.
Yeah.
I am in the championship for the next 2 rounds for the next 2 weeks. Let's see. Hopefully I can take home a W, win one championship. That'll be 2 years in a row I go home with a championship. I mean, I'm pretty psyched about that. Maybe not our league this year, but...
Yeah, in the league we've been in together for 8 years now, I think we determined.
This is year 7.
Year 7. I'm in the championship against the most hated man in the league. The most hated or second most hated man in the league. And
I don't know if you can describe him as a man.
Fair enough.
Most hated thing.
And it was a rough year throughout the year, but I battled through it, got to the championship, and now we're going to take him down. I'm already talking to him. My game plan right now is to overload his head with information. And I've already started talking about conspiracy theories and how Americans don't negotiate with communists, and he decided to take that literally and got into a whole argument over that we do negotiate with communist America historically, and he didn't get that I was joking. Or if he did, he didn't lead it on. And that's good. I'm going to overload his head with information. He's going to make the wrong calls with who he plays. And, yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
There you go. See, I do the opposite approach. You get in their head, you talk a lot of trash. Mm-hmm. I go radio silence on them. So they try to talk trash, nothing happens. They don't hear anything. So all they hear is their own voice echo back to them. Creates an echo chamber. Oh, they start psyching themselves out because all they can do is talk to themselves and think about it. They don't have anybody that, fight against, really. It's just their own mind. Mm-hmm. It's a whole mind game. Try it out sometime. It'll drive the other guy absolutely nuts.
I've tried that strategy too sometimes. It is pretty cool, but when you have someone who is very quotable as having very quotable for bad things and
saying very dumb things.
Yeah, you got to poke the bear more or less to get him to say some stuff.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. 2-week matchup for the last 2 weeks. We'll see what's going on with that.
Championships is what we play for all year long.
Oh man, it's going to be fun.
If you win, you get to tell everyone around you how much better you are at this game than them.
That's how we do it. It's the only reason fantasy football is good, so you can tell everyone you know more about football than your friends.
I mean, if I just wanted to gamble, I could gamble, on a blackjack table in a casino somewhere. But I can't tell all of my closest friends that I'm better at them because of that.
Exactly. So we'll get to fantasy stuff a little later with some advice for people who are still in it, or maybe want to come in third place if there's a payout, or not come in last if there's a punishment. A lot of good people, I think.
There's a couple guys still out there, yep.
Yeah, to pick up, play. We'll get to that and then picks. But first, what we're going to start off with is playoff talk. We have a lot of teams still in the mix to make the playoffs here. We were surprised. It's 20 or so teams in the mix to make the playoffs, if we're not mistaken.
21 teams are still alive mathematically.
And, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of the teams are pretty much out just by the way of either injury or their record right now. And, they're playing terribly at the moment.
Sure.
But we'll just kick it off. The AFC East, we got the Patriots, 9-5 after their loss to the Steelers. They got the Bills and Jets left, so the AFC cupcake walk.
They win one game they're in, and I think they win the tiebreaker even if the Dolphins win out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Dolphins 7-7 though from the AFC East. Still got a chance. They're playing the Jags and at the Bills. The Bills are tougher now, but
especially in Buffalo.
That's a pretty good schedule to have for a team that we kind of both thought stunk at the start of the year and just is playing above expectations. They could easily win those 2 games. It wouldn't shock me.
Yep.
All right, AFC West, Kansas City Chiefs 11-3 have the tiebreaker over the Chargers still because of interdivision record, and they play at the Seahawks and against the Raiders at home. The Chargers, on the other hand, 11-3, hoping for the Chiefs to slip up one of those 2 games. They have the Ravens this week at home, and then they're at the Broncos The Broncos, I believe, have faint playoff hopes, but not really. I mean,
6-8.
6-8 at the Raiders and against the Chargers at home. AFC North is still pretty interesting here. Steelers after that win, 8-5-1 at the Saints and against the Bengals, again at home there. Ravens 8-6 at the Chargers, home against the Browns, and then the Browns 6-7-1. They need a weird thing to happen where they need AFC South teams to lose this week, and then they need the Colts and Titans to tie in Week 17 to make the playoffs. But it's possible.
Doable.
They got the Bengals and the Ravens, so they have a lot ahead of them. But nice to see if they can go on a little run and maybe get the miracle of a tie helping them out instead of kind of hurting them. And
yeah, everything. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And then AFC South has three teams still in the mix. It's Houston Texans, 10-4. They're at the Eagles and at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Indianapolis Colts, who are at home against the Giants and at Tennessee. And then the Titans, who are 8-6 as well, who are at home against the Redskins and at home against the Colts. So we'll stick right with the AFC before we go into jumbling more information into this with the NFC. But AFC, let's just go down the list. I mean, who's your 4 division winners to start? And then I guess 2 home field advantage within that, and then we'll go into wild cards after that.
So I think the number 1's going to be the Chiefs. I don't think they lose, even if they. I think the Chargers are going to lose one game. Chiefs very well could go 13-3 or 12-4. Either way, they will be the number 1 overall seed for me. So they'll get home field throughout the playoffs, first round bye. Second seed, I got to get Houston Texans. They're going to beat Philly this week, I think. So that'll already put them at 11-4. Their last game against the Colts, that'll make them 11-5. So
Texans' last game was against the Jags.
Since the Jags?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they should win that game, so they'll be 12-4. So they'll be the second seed. I believe they lose the tiebreaker to the Chiefs as well at this point. Patriots are going to win the AFC East like they always do. They'll probably win out, be 11-5. Not really worried about that. Patriots are always going to be in the playoffs this year. They will play in the weakest division in football almost year in and year out. So your third seed, as always, Pittsburgh Steelers, just by the nature of the way the rest of the schedule is. I think they lose to the Saints this week, but they'll beat Cincinnati. The Ravens are kind of nipping at their heels, but they got the Chargers in Cleveland. I think there is a good chance they lose out and go 8-8, or worst case they go 9-7, and with the Steelers at 9-6-1, beating Cincinnati in the final week, they'll be AFC North champions. It's just that simple. So they'll be the 4 seed, just like kind of how we predicted. They're going to be a very weak AFC North winner this year. Mm-hmm. Wild cards, obviously Chargers number 5. I have no doubt about that. They're the second best team, I think, in the conference right now. And then the 6th seed, I got to go with the Indianapolis Colts. They have a head-to-head matchup with the Titans last week of the season. This week they are playing the New York Giants, which I think is going to be a win. They're at 8-6 now. I'll put them at 9-6. I think they end the season 10-6, beat the Titans, edge the Titans out of that last wild card spot. So I think the Titans will be the first people out, followed by the Ravens, and then I think the Browns will be behind them. So that's my AFC playoff picture.
This isn't very good TV or radio, but
it's hard to see because we're reading off a book here, but there's a lot of scenarios to still be had when you have this many teams being eliminated. But it's something you got to talk out. It's a football show. We're 2 weeks left in the season. We got to go through all these scenarios.
Well, I'm just saying I'm going to agree with you.
All right,
100%. I think. I'll just I'm not going to foreshadow picks or anything. But I think the Chiefs will stay the number 1 seed. I think the Chargers, though, if the Chiefs lose to the Seahawks this week, I could see that happening. They're at the Seahawks. I know the Seahawks just lost to the 49ers, but they're tough at home. The Chargers could definitely take that spot. That would be the only thing I could see really shaking up this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because the Colts have a game on the Dolphins already. I think the Dolphins are very lucky with their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they probably go 8-8 when it's all said and done. Titans get pretty lucky with their schedule, too. They should feel good against the Redskins, and then they control their own destiny. But 1 through 6, we're the same.
Exactly. I think most NFL pundits right now agree that 1 through 5 are the teams making the playoffs. They might disagree on the order, like Chargers, Chiefs, Texans number 2 versus Patriots, little stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But everyone pretty much knows those 5 teams. Patriots, Steelers, Texans, Chiefs, Chargers are all making the playoffs. They most of them are virtually clinched at this point. Patriots will this week. Steelers should if they win this week as well, but they'll probably lose against the Saints. Spoiler there. It's really who you think the 6th seed's going to be. Titans and Colts are probably the favorites right now with their schedules, and both of them being 8-6, but they do play each other, so they pretty much decide their own destiny. So that takes out the suspense of what could really happen. It's just whoever wins that Week 17 matchup. And after that, you got the Ravens, on the outside looking in right now. They've already, lost too many games. They got to play Cleveland this week, which is not going to be an easy win, even if they do. Best case right now, they end up 8-8. So that's just not going to get it done in the AFC this year. 9-7 is going to be the minimum you can get a wild card, and that's most years.
I think with the scenario we laid out, this might be, and it's kind of, I guess, a given, but given their history, maybe not. The Chiefs having home field advantage throughout is dangerous. They usually don't get they usually don't get very far in the playoffs, but with Pat Mahomes, with home field advantage, like we said at the beginning of the season, the Patriots and Steelers not being quite the teams they have been in the past.
Sure.
That's tough. Texans, they'll get them at home if that kind of holds form, but that's huge for this AFC kind of playoff picture. Although you could see a team like the Chargers go in there and do some damage
Very
too.
true.
So. All right, let's move on to the NFC. We'll start with the East again, and we're going to go with the Cowboys first. They are 8-6 with games at home against the Bucs and on the road against the Giants. If they win a game or the Eagles lose a game, they win the NFC East. It's all locked up, so a lot of possibilities there to be able to do that. The Eagles 7-7 got Nick Foles back in the starting lineup, and they're at home against the Texans and at the Redskins. The Redskins in this division 7-7 at the Titans and versus the Eagles at home. NFC West, we got the Rams who are on a 2-game skid, but are 11-3. They're at the Cardinals and at home against the 49ers. Seahawks are 8-6, home against the Chiefs and home against the Cardinals. NFC North, down to the Bears and Vikings now that the Packers are kind of out of it. 10-4 for the Bears, at the 49ers, at the Vikings. Vikings are obviously at the Bears Week 17 and at the Lions Week 16. And the NFC South, Saints 12-2. They're at home against the Steelers, at home against the Panthers, and the Panthers still alive, 6-8. They're on a very bad losing streak right now, but home against the Falcons, at the Saints. They could still make the playoffs. Not very likely for them the way they're playing. That's all that's going on with the NFC teams. Cecil, let's again start with the division winners and everything, and go on down to the wild card teams.
Right now, I'm going to go with the Saints here as the number 1 overall seed. I think they can beat the Steelers. I think they can beat the Saints. Or the Panthers, the end of the season. So for the Rams, Cardinals, they'll win. They should probably beat the 49ers too. So we could see two teams we could see the Saints at 14-2, Rams at 13-3. Even if the Saints lose a game, they still have the heads up there. So if they lose, I don't see them losing the Panthers at the end of the season. There's really no reason to unless they've already tied everything up at that point. So Saints, Rams, that's clear. Bears are kind of stuck at 3 no matter what they do right now. I don't think there's going to be anything that changes there. And then East, it's going to be the Cowboys. It's that simple. Everyone knows it. They just have to beat one team, and they play, some pretty weak teams the last 2 weeks. And I don't even think the Eagles are going to win this week against the Texans, so that pretty much eliminates them from playoff contention, from the NFC East crown, so all of that. Number 5, I got to go Seattle Seahawks. They play the Cardinals last week of the season, so worst case, they should get that win, no doubt. So that'd be 9-7 for them, assuming they lose this week against the Chiefs, which I think is a possibility. So you got 9-7 there, and then I think they'll actually be the 6th seed because they'll lose the tiebreaker, I think, to the Vikings, who are going to end the season 9-6-1 because they're going to beat the Lions this week. They'll make them 8-6-1. I think the Bears are probably going to rest most of their starters at the end of next week, and that'll make them 9-6-1. They'll actually edge out the Seahawks for the 5th seed there. Same thing. I don't think an 8-8 team's going to make it, or a team with only 8 wins. With the case of the Vikings tie here. The other people who are really in it, Panthers have completely fallen apart. Redskins are out. It's really about, can Philadelphia beat the Texans and Redskins? If they win out, I think they will be in it. But, that's a lot to ask for them to beat a very good Texans team right now. So it's really a 3-horse race to the wild card there. Everyone else has had too many injuries or has been on too big a skid to really have a chance there. but I think Vikings and Seahawks edge out the Eagles in the end.
Not good TV or radio. I'm agreeing with you again.
I mean, there's only so much we can do here.
You're right. Like the teams that we are leaving out of the playoffs, or especially NFC, I should say, are hanging on by a thread, whether injuries or whatever, or I don't know. They're just not as good teams. People could say the Eagles, but it's going to take a really good effort. They had their best game of the season against the Rams, no doubt. Defense played well. Offensive line played well. Nick Foles came in and did decently, 270 yards and an interception, but didn't just stare down Zach Ertz like Carson Wentz likes to. So there's that. That's tough to ask to beat the Texans, and I know the Redskins aren't the greatest team, but for 2 straight weeks to have the Eagles play at a level they haven't played other than 1 game a year, pretty tough. So I'm with you exactly all the way down. Saints, then Rams, then Bears, then Cowboys. I would maybe change up Seahawks, Vikings, but the Bears game is kind of we don't know what's going to happen if
they're
going to
bench sit or not. I mean, at that point, they could easily be locked into 3, and there's nothing they can do.
Mm-hmm. Important thing here, though, we saw last night. We saw the Saints and Panthers play, and it was a bad game for both sides. It was a 12-9 final score, and Drew Brees did not have his best game. That was an outside game. If the Saints win 1 game, they have no more outside games the rest of the season. That's crucial for a team like the Saints.
Plus the Panthers, if they really are trying to win out here, I mean, they could beat the Falcons. But even go 8-8, they got to go play Drew Brees again in in New Orleans, in that dome against Drew Brees, who at that point may be playing for the number 1 seed. So, best case, they go 8-8, and that's just not going to get done, especially with the Vikings having that tie over everyone right now.
Yeah, definitely. So those are our teams to make the playoffs. Your Super Bowl prediction is looking very good, which is Chargers over Saints.
So is my other big one. Rams are going to lose in their first playoff matchup. I said they get the first round bye. Losing the first round because right now, according to these matchups, the Bears will play the 6th seed, so they'll probably play the Seahawks. I think they should easily win that game, especially since it's at Soldier Field. And who they end up playing? Los Angeles Rams.
Could be interesting.
Very interesting. We already saw a little preview of that matchup earlier, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And Rams did not look like they had any answers, so we'll see what happens. The future's looking bright for all my picks.
Yeah, the Bears kind of do have a feel of like maybe the Eagles from last year, where they kind of just, the one year they're not really contenders, and the next year they're right at the thick of the contenders, maybe winning a Super Bowl. I don't know, though. I'm still not 100% sold on the Bears being that great, but they've proven it on the field to be 10-4 so far. So
somehow.
We'll see what happens if Mr. Trubisky can lead them to victory.
Mr.
Biscuit. My Super Bowl pick, not looking so good. Jaguars over Eagles.
Okay.
All they needed to do is have even below average quarterback play would have had them back at this level. And then the defense fell apart, and that's okay.
Jalen Ramsey stopped running his mouth.
Exactly. And Eagles just needed to not play as bad. Honestly, they had so many injuries this year.
They really did.
They kind of get a pass, but they could have played better too. So my pick's not looking so good. We'll be back next week to kind of talk playoff scenarios again. It'll be much, much lighter list.
Definitely. Let's hope anyway.
And we'll talk everything else and what it means, all those Week 17 games. If everyone's going to sit people, if they're going to try to win. There's a lot of scenarios Week 17. It's always fun. Yeah. Especially the annual Browns versus Steelers. What's not going to happen this year, but Browns versus Steelers. Steelers bench their starters and still beat the Browns.
The toilet bowl, as we call it.
Toilet bowl. All right, we'll move on. We'll go recap last week now. I kind of did that a little bit with the playoff picture, but we always do Team of the Week. So, Cecil, who are you going with for your Team of the Week?
For me right now, it's kind of hard, but I got to go with the Eagles.
Okay.
And beat the Rams. They are, backs against the wall. The Rams have looked a little disheveled as of late, but they went into LA and beat a very good Rams team. So I've got to give it to them.
I'll go Steelers.
Okay.
Beating the Patriots. Not in and of itself like a big upset or something that was really surprising, but the fact that the Steelers were playing so poorly before that and then come out and do that was surprising.
Sure.
Always getting beaten by Gronk. We saw Gronk at the end have some contact, but he did not end up getting a catch in the end zone to win the game or anything.
Patriots don't look like the team they used to.
No, they really don't.
It's still very good coaching. You can tell that by the way they're winning because it's not a talent thing right now. I mean, at the end of that game, they just kept trying to throw the ball to Gronk, and they didn't try anything different, which was really weird and very un-Belichick-like thing to do.
Here, I think your point about talent is a little bit understated. Like, I think saying it is kind of apparent, but when you look at it, what's one group of players that would be in top 5 or so of the NFL? I would say quarterbacks on that team. I don't even know if anything else is.
At this point.
Yeah, so that's
secondary, running backs are all just kind of average guys that do their own thing and excel at one thing. So.
And in the past, I feel like, yes, that's kind of been the system in Belichick, but they've had a little bit more talent to go off of, too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. I mean, he's just plugging holes right now. It's kind of amazing that they're still at 9-5 right now. They'll probably end up being 11-5 since they play a soft final 2 games, but that's still an accomplishment. But this team is not good, right? I mean, they're not bad, but they're not a good team. When I look at them in the playoffs, the only reason I'm worried is because Bill Belichick's coaching and Tom Brady's will to win. But look at some of these matchups they're going to have to play. I mean, they drop down to somehow the 4 seed. They're playing Chargers-Chiefs. I don't think they win that game. They'll probably get lucky and play whoever the 6 seed ends up being.
Colts-Titans.
Which we said Colts-Titans. If it's Titans, I think they win easily. But Colts?
Tough
way Andrew Luck's playing, I don't know. I don't think they make it to an AFC Championship game this year. I said it last year. I don't think it's going to happen. There's just too many holes on this team. And I don't think Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have the ability, with the lack of talent around, to really will themselves to win 2 playoff games this year to get to that championship.
It's literally what we said preseason. We said don't count on it. But I think the most glaring thing about that is we did not say that they had one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL. And that is probably true these days. Gronk is not the same.
Gronk is not. Gronk is a shell of himself. The best thing about Gronk is he's kind of living off that name, so defenses still do pretty much respect him a lot, especially in the red zone. And if anything, Bill Belichick should be using that more than he does, because right now he's still trying to throw the ball to Gronk, and they're double-teaming him.
Yeah.
Let him, and then just go try to get Edelman or Hogan, somebody else involved, because Brady is spreading the ball around, but nobody's really making that big of an impact.
Definitely. So that's Patriots right now.
Yeah, that's them.
But maybe it could create a better first-round playoff matchup than we've seen in the past. Like last year, what was the one? It was the Titans-Chiefs. That was a very boring game.
It sure was.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. Next thing up, surprise team of last week.
Cowboys in an absolutely bad way. How do you get shut out by the Colts? The Colts don't have a good defense. I can understand maybe losing to them because of Andrew Luck having a very good game. They're playing away. But come on. What was it, 41, 42-0? Something like that?
It was much less.
I don't think it was that.
It was like 21 or 28.
There's no way. I thought it was even more than that. Either way, you get shut out by the Colts. You get shut out by a not very good defense. You only put up a fight. That's embarrassing. How can you expect to be a division winner if you're going to play games like that? How do you expect to make it past any game in the playoff? They're so Jekyll and Hyde this year. I mean, they could go, they play like they do every other week, where they beat the Saints. They could beat anybody. They could win a Super Bowl in that mode. Or, they could flop right out of the playoffs because they're going to get the NFC East pretty much by default this year. And if they play like that, they definitely will get bounced out by the 5 seed, without a doubt.
I disagree with you on that point. I mean, you're right. If they play that way, they're going to lose. But they've shown they can play pretty well this year. 8 wins already. I mean, that's more than usually the winner of the NFC is just like right at 8 or 9 wins, which it might be. But they could beat the Seahawks. I don't think that's a huge team.
I think they can beat the Seahawks too. But if they play at that level or just a little above, they're going to lose that game.
Yeah. I think a lot of credit.
That's my argument.
A lot of credit he needs to be given that defense for keeping them in a lot of games because that offense has not been right.
Nope.
And the Vikings too. Vikings have some huge issues too. I think they can take advantage, but you're right. They do need to step up their game. Surprise team in a bad way. I'm going to surprise team in a good way though. 49ers beating the Seahawks
somehow.
They're definitely playing way better than anyone expected, especially with Nick Mullins at quarterback.
They're trying to make sure they don't get a good draft pick.
Exactly. And honestly, Nick Mullins is out there and he's trying to save himself a job for next year. And he's doing it. He's playing like a at least a top 20 quarterback in the league. And that's
he won't have a job there, but worst case, they can trade him and he can find a job somewhere.
Trade him, or if Jimmy G just suddenly doesn't get healthy again, like some of these quarterbacks are having health issues like Carson Wentz, then you have someone there. That's always nice. So Nick Mullins playing well. They beat the Seahawks, and really we were thinking Seahawks were kind of starting to become a well-oiled machine in terms of running the ball. Russell Wilson just doing everything it takes to win outside of that, and then defense. They are not quite there, and they have some more work to do to get in the playoffs. So, 49ers surprise team of the week for me. All right, that's going to recap last week. We're going to move on now to fantasy plays, and again, we can try to give more value here, and we'll start off with the quarterbacks.
2 for you. Baker Mayfield playing the Bengals. They're playing in Cleveland as well, so a little home field advantage for him. He's been doing well. Even last week, he played in Denver. I think he got standard scoring about 15 fantasy points. That's still a decent, if you're playing kind of a little bit, quarterback light on your team. This week, he's going to score, I think, at least 20 fantasy points. If he gets on a real tear, we're talking maybe 30. If you're, a team that, banked on a certain quarterback like Jimmy G or something, got an ACL tear, and you've been going quarterback to quarterback, picked up Baker, this is the time to use him. This is the best matchup. It happens to come championship weekend. So by all means, start Baker Mayfield if you don't have, one of those top 5 guys. Because I think by the end of this week, his ceiling is definitely top 5 in scoring. So, if you got a fringe 10 guy, start Baker Mayfield. I think he'll do better than some of those other guys. Kirk Cousins as well. He's playing Detroit. Detroit's completely given up on the season, it looks like. They can't figure anything out on offense. Though Vikings have to win, to keep in wild card contention. I think they will. It helps that Dalvin Cook's been getting going as well. That'll help Kirk Cousins only. And Darius Slay may give whoever he's guarding, Stephon Diggs or Adam Thielen, trouble. But Kirk Cousins will just throw to anybody else because there's nobody else on the Lions defense. So Kirk Cousins should have a very good day too.
All right, I'm going Dak against Tampa Bay. I know we just talked about how bad they played, but Tampa Bay is the worst defense in the league against quarterbacks.
That's true.
And I think maybe he gets your rushing touchdown in there too. It's always a possibility with Dak. And then I'll also go Mitch Trubisky going up against the team that traded back so that the Bears could trade up to get him. And that deal we always talk about how the Bears played themselves, but they got Mitch, and I don't know if he's going to want revenge against the 49ers, but it's kind of funny where the Bears got into this situation where they're competing now, and the 49ers are still not quite there.
That's true.
And we actually kind of thought that before the season the 49ers would be, like everyone had them, not us, but everyone else had them as their hot, trendy pick to make the playoffs.
That's true.
So my question to you is, I am one of those people that might have a quarterback issue. I have Cam Newton with a bum shoulder, who's played terribly. Do you go with any of these guys over Cam Newton? Cam Newton's playing the Falcons, who also have a bad defense.
I do, because right now I don't trust, like you said, his arm injury. I don't trust it. Mm-hmm. They keep putting in, anytime they need to throw the ball deep, they put in their backup quarterback for Hail Marys. That to me already says that his yardage is going to be limited. Because his shoulder's hurt, he's not going to run as much because he's going to be afraid about injuring that shoulder. Mm-hmm. So really, it just limits Cam Newton's whole game plan. What makes him dangerous is that dual threat. They are playing a very weak defense, but I say if you got Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins on your bench or they're on the waiver wire this week, pick them up and start them at least this week because, from you look through the last couple weeks of scoring, he's done nothing. He's costing teams a lot of points. Could have cost some guys a championship as well. He hasn't even hit 20 fantasy points in weeks. So, by all means, I'd bench Cam Newton if you have him. Start one of these guys for sure, or one of the guys Joe mentioned. One of them should be available. Cam's not going to be doing you any favors.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always tough for me to bench someone that has played so well up to this point. Because if he does well, you're just going to hate yourself the whole time.
You just got to look at it this way. He doesn't have that high ceiling because of the injury.
Yeah.
But his floor is all the way down to the bottom. We're talking a quarterback that could get you less than 10 fantasy points.
Yeah, like 5.
And that's real bad.
Yeah, definitely something I think definitely something that's on a lot of fantasy owners' minds. Something like Cam Newton right now. I'm sure there's a couple people in the fantasy championship who have him on the roster. So
yeah.
Let's move on to running backs, though. Who are you going running back wise?
Running back, I got to go Derrick Henry finally. Last 2 weeks I said don't start him. Fluky, first one. If you can do that 2 weeks in a row, I'm convinced. Redskins, because of all the injuries, they start out very well in their front seven, but they've weakened against the run. Derrick Henry might still be available. Some people might have thought it was just a fluke, or you've been sitting him on your bench because you've been worried, like Joe.
Yeah.
But this week, it's championship week. There's time to take some risks out there. If you're light at running back, start Derrick Henry. You should have a good game against the Redskins. Then Gus Edwards, been one of my guys, averaging over 10 fantasy points each of the last couple weeks. Very strong flex. Could be a solid RB2 play for you. Playing a Chargers team that's very good against the pass, but not as good against the run due to injuries.
I'm just going to go ahead and say you're on fire tonight, buddy.
Cool.
I was going to have Derrick Henry on there too, but I'll go two other ones. But I did want to say that the Redskins in the last 3 weeks have given up the most rushing yards out of any team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny that we talked about how good the run defense was to start. So you're on fire with that. Derrick Henry should have a big game. Sony Michel against Buffalo. I think they really need to start running the ball more. Tom Brady isn't the player he once was. The outside targets aren't that great. I mean, Josh Gordon's good, but it just doesn't seem like he trusts him. Chris Hogan had that big play, but that's because he was literally wide open. Sony Michel can also help in the pass game, too. And then I'll go with the guy we might talk about a little bit later. That's Elijah McGuire against the Packers. If you're really, really desperate, say a guy gets hurt, because there are a lot of running back injuries right now.
Sure are.
He's the starter. Isaiah Crowell is out for the season, not playing for the Jets. And Green Bay, I mean, we talk about all year. They have a weak defense. McGuire has double-digit fantasy points the last 2 weeks since Crowell's been out for the season. So he's a guy to maybe plug and play. Wide receivers.
Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Guy didn't do as well last week. Nobody in the Cowboys offense did, but he's having a revival season so far, making you really understand why the Raiders drafted him first round all those years back. He's doing well. He's playing the Bucs, who you already picked Dak. If Dak's going to have a good game, so will Amari Cooper, without a doubt. They have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I think they are either number 1 or number 2 in most passing yards given up by any team this year. So start Amari Cooper with ease. If you haven't already, I think he's turning into a must-start, at least as a wide receiver 2 right now. And I like Tyler Lockett against the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't play very good defense. If any team wants to compete with the Chiefs, usually it turns into a shootout, so that means a lot of passing yards. Tyler Lockett will get a big pass or two.
I'll go Allen Robinson against 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Corners still aren't great. Richard Sherman still doesn't look like himself. If I think Mitch Trubisky's going to have a big game, his number 1 receiver might too. And then I'll go Jarvis Landry against the Bengals.
Jarvis.
He's kind of a borderline. Do I start him? Do I not? When you don't start him, he goes off. When you do start him, he doesn't.
So what should we do?
Against Bengals, do it.
Okay.
Just do it. He might even throw a touchdown pass this week.
Man.
But play him this week, he should do pretty well. Tight ends. Can we start adding Gronk into the people you can pick in this category?
Honestly, I think we should officially take Gronk out of the must-start every week category.
We'll do that then.
He's definitely cost some people, high pick.
So,
third, fourth rounder is what most people draft him at in average draft position. So that's pretty high for a guy who's averaging less than probably like 5 or 6 fantasy points a week right now. And, last 3 weeks, I think he's gotten an average of 2 or 3. He's touchdown reliant now, and that's pretty much it for him. Mm-hmm. So you can say him. I'm not telling you to start him by any means. I think there's better tight ends out there right now. I got Evan Ingram versus the Colts. Colts are very bad against tight ends. Evan Ingram is one of Eli's favorite underneath targets, and OBJ will draw most of the attention away. And Jared Cook has been a man on fire this year. Broncos, terrible against tight ends, have been proven every week except for my David Njoku pick last week. For some reason, they decided to not hit that weakness very much. I think the Raiders won't make the same mistake. Jared Cook is their primary weapon.
I'll go Austin Hooper against the Panthers. Panthers obviously struggling and not very good against tight ends either. Surprisingly, because they do have Luke Kuechly sometimes who will guard the tight end. Did well against Gronk every time they play the Patriots. But Hooper should have a big day. And then I'll go David Njoku. I know you're a little bit mad at him right now, but against the Bengals,
fired up.
The linebackers are hurt. Sean Williams, the safety, if he tries to cover him, he's bad. Jesse Bates is their best hope, and he's a rookie, so maybe Njoku will be able to do that. But they won't be matching him up with him all game or anything. So Njoku will be able to find some good matchups and possibly the end zone on anyone who covers him. Defenses and special teams.
Rams, some people are more shaky on them. They're must start this week. They're probably going to be the number 1 in defense because they are playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have given up. I mean, Josh Rosen doesn't seem to know what's going on. They haven't been competitive in the last couple games. It's kind of at that point of the season where you either, are going to really compete for your job or you're going to lay over, and the Cardinals are showing they have given up. Cleveland Browns are playing the Cincinnati Bengals in Cleveland. Defense is pretty good. Jeff Driscoll is starting for the Bengals, so there's no worries there. And then I like the Tennessee Titans against the Redskins, who have Josh Johnson starting quarterback. That's their 4th starting QB this year. I'm not worried. Just stop Adrian Peterson, and they'll probably get some turnovers.
Yep, Titans are a solid play there. I'll also say Dolphins against the Jaguars. Cody Kessler is much, much worse than Blake Bortles. It's very apparent now, but the Dolphins, I think in this game should have a lot on the line. They're going to want to stop everything the Jags are doing. Jags don't have anything to play for. The motivation's down. I think it's going to be a pretty poor performance for the Jaguars.
Yeah.
And then I'll go Vikings against Detroit. Vikings defense isn't the best this year, but Detroit, with all their playmakers gone, it's hard. I mean, Kenny Galladay is the number one.
Kerryon Johnson's probably going to get shut down for the rest of the season. Doesn't look like he's going to play this week. I wouldn't even play him.
Yeah,
I don't think it's worth risking a re-injury of it, especially when it's a knee like that. Just phone it in almost and get the higher draft pick. That's what I'd do as a GM.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But Vikings definitely good defense to play this week. Let's do the fantasy ads.
I got 2 guys for you. Kalen Ballage, the running back for the Dolphins. He's been the backup to Frank Gore and Kenyon Drake. He looked great in the preseason. A lot of people were talking about, put him as a sleeper. Disappeared this year. Don't know why, because he did absolutely great last week. Got 120 rushing yards on 13 carries. Absolutely killing it. If Frank Gore cannot go, it's early in the week, so we're not sure right now. He is a decent flex. He will be even higher if he wasn't playing a very good Jacksonville Jaguars defense this week. So definitely pick him up. Jamal Williams, same thing. Aaron Jones, we don't know his exact status, if he's going to be out or not yet. Either way, Jamal Williams is getting more and more involved in the game since Mike McCarthy got fired. There's a lot more passing involved, and they usually put Jamal Williams in during those situations. So if Aaron Jones can't go, especially if you're in a PPR, pick him up. Decent flex this week, and they could really make a difference in this championship week after all.
Yeah, definitely have those 2 guys on my short list. I'll add Elijah McGuire, mentioned him earlier, starting running back for the Jets. Worth rostering at this point.
Sure.
He's going to get a lot of carries. Dante Pettis still not owned in 50% of leagues, and he's just keeps on rolling. He's the guy to pick up, can do pretty well down the stretch, especially if Nick Mullins playing well. And then I got to watch out for Mike Williams on the waiver wire. If Keenan Allen can't go, he's the guy to pick up. Obviously, we saw what he did against the Chiefs. The Chiefs aren't the best defense, but he had a heck of a game against them.
That's true.
As Philip Rivers number 1. Keenan Allen is questionable right now.
He's got a hip pointer.
I think he might play, though. They said he might play because of the layoff of they played Thursday and the next game is Saturday for them. So that's more than usual for NFL teams. So those are guys to watch out and pick up. All right, we'll move on to picks now. We usually do Dylan's picks at this point. He had surgery this week, so we're going to wish him the best for a full recovery. Make sure to check out his picks against the spread every week.
He's still in the black somehow.
He's still in the black
after this crazy NFL season.
Definitely worth listening to him. He's gonna help make you guys some money. So wish him the best, and we'll get him back next week hopefully for some more picks. But for us, we're going to do the picks straight up this week. Redskins and Titans on Saturday.
Got to go Titans here. Titans have a good defense. It looks like they finally found identity, rushing Derrick Henry. If they can keep doing that, they could be a force, and maybe if they make it in the playoffs, maybe make something happen. But that's what we've been saying this whole time. Titans absolutely do not have an offensive identity. They finally somehow something clicked with Derrick Henry the last 2 weeks. Redskins, terrible gets the run like we said. They're going to continue that success. That'll open things up for Mariota, and the defense will have more than a good time playing against Josh Johnson out there. So give me the Titans.
Good for Josh Johnson to get the win for the Redskins. That's not going to happen against Titans.
Nope.
Defense is good. Run the ball. The reason why we didn't, we kind of said don't start Derrick Henry last week is because we didn't know if he'd get the volume he got against.
Exactly.
And he did. So it shows that they're committing to it, and they should be able to win this game against the Redskins defense that can't stop the run. Ravens Chargers, big playoff implications. This one is also on Saturday.
Ravens at Chargers?
At Chargers.
I'm going Chargers because it is a long trip, and it's on a Saturday night for the Ravens, so that kind of cuts down on their time. The Ravens are all right. They're doing some good things with Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards in there. They should probably have been playing the whole year. Maybe not Lamar because of, he had to learn the playbook. But anyway, it really gives their team a chance. Joe Flacco is not the answer by any means. I'm glad he's not starting. He shouldn't. I just don't think they have enough firepower or really figured out enough weapons this year to make it count. They're good with scoring defense, but they're not that great with takeaways. I think just the Chargers team's been rolling. It's going to be a little too much for this Ravens team.
I'm going Chargers too. Ravens are not scoring as many points with Lamar Jackson as they were with Joe Flacco, which to me is concerning because they've played some bad defenses. I think it's a matter of them changing the game plan, controlling the ball and everything. Mm-hmm. But what that means to me is, kind of like you said, they're going to beat the teams they should beat. They're not going to beat the Chargers on the road.
Nope.
And in the playoffs, if they make the playoffs, I'm not picking them to win. Maybe if they play the Steelers and it's kind of a rivalry and they can do something, but that's what their matchup's going to be. So it's not going to bode well for the Ravens fans down the end of the season here.
Definitely.
Chargers win the game. Moving on to Sunday games now. We'll start off with the Bengals at the Browns.
Got to go Browns here. Bengals beat a bad Raiders team. For some reason, they all thought it was great. They were all celebrating. I'm like, you barely beat a very bad team.
Yeah.
Browns looked very good. They did well against a very hard place to play in Mile High last week, so I got to give it to them. It's a rivalry game. I don't think the Bengals are going to lie down like they did last game. I think it'll be a little closer, but still, Baker's going to air it out on offense. Bengals defense won't have any answers, and then the defense will make enough plays on Jeff Driscoll. Driscoll's done better than a lot of people thought in relief because he does have that athleticism him to use his legs to get him out of trouble sometimes. But at the end of the day, they just don't have the talent the Browns have right now, and they're just not playing on the same level. So Browns.
Browns for me, too. They're at home. They have something to play for. The Bengals, while they still may be mathematically able to make the playoffs,
it's dire.
It's not going to happen with a backup quarterback and a defense that bad. Bengals should have been trying to lose last week. You're not going to go into the locker room and say, hey, guys, lose. But Browns, Baker Mayfield, I think he's still just killing it and a guy that they have to be excited about in the future. Not enough to make the playoffs this year, but it kind of makes you wonder what would have happened if some of the overtime games went their way, if they would have fired Hugh Jackson a couple weeks earlier, put Greg Williams in charge. But still something to build off of, which I think Browns fans it's going to be intriguing for them next year. They're kind of in the spot where you don't want to be an NFL team, where you're just missing the playoffs. That's kind of no man's land. You can't really win a championship. But since they have a young quarterback that's growing
just
with the team,
that's
a good thing to be there. Bucks at Cowboys.
Cowboys. It's hard to play in Jerry World 1. Bucks give up so many yards, it's ridiculous. Cowboys have a lot to play for. Bucks, it doesn't really matter for them. So I got to go with the team that's playing for a playoff berth.
Cowboys too. Defense is just too bad for the Bucks, and they'll be able to run the ball, Zeke Elliott, and then control the clock and play defense, which is what they've loved to do for a couple of years now. And when they do that, they win.
Sure.
Vikings at Lions.
Vikings again. One team playing for everything. One that's just pretty much looks like they're ready to just, turn belly up. So I don't know what the Lions can do. They don't really have an offensive game plan at this point with all their playmakers gone, like we said. Defense, again, nothing on it besides Darius Slay. He can cover one guy, but he can't cover all the weapons Kirk Cousins have. Dalvin Cook is also becoming a huge factor in the games, which I like as his fantasy owner in certain leagues. So I got to go Vikings big in this one.
I do too. I love the strategy of using Cook and actually giving him 20 touches a game. That's why you drafted him where you drafted him. He's a playmaker. That's why the offense coordinator was fired. Literally because he didn't do that. I know Cook was injured and him coming back was tough, but if you just
gave the ball 40 times to Kirk Cousins every game and it wasn't working.
You can't do that. And again, it's going to work out for them. They're going to make the playoffs with the new offense coordinator, and it fits better. Having this new offense coordinator fits better with what Mike Zimmer wants to do, which is honestly run the ball and play defense. If the quarterback's good, he wants a good quarterback. He wants the quarterback to play well. But like you said, 40 times a game is too much.
Exactly.
Giants at Colts.
Colts here. Giants do worry me sometimes, especially since they do have a power run game, which is what the Colts usually struggle with. Didn't last week with Ezekiel Elliott for some reason, but Colts should win. They're on a tear. Andrew Luck's playing absolutely great. Is this the right time of year to get hot? They are. Giants are going to try to play spoiler, but other than that, there's not really much for them to play for. So I got to give it to Colts again. Giants, I think this will be a very close game, though. Giants are playing teams really close. it bodes well enough for this year, but next year maybe, depending on what they do with Eli or at the quarterback position come next year, it could be very good because they are out there competing. So
I know this is like the second, maybe third time this has happened, but it's still kind of weird to see Eli Manning versus the Colts without being Eli versus Peyton. Like it's always built up, but Andrew Luck playing at a great level. Giants. I don't think they're really going to have their hearts in this one.
Nope.
Colts will, have Andrew Luck go out there, have a big game. Defense is playing actually, I think, really good for their talent level. Darius Leonard is a rookie who was picked in the middle rounds of the NFL draft, and he's one. I don't know if he's the top in tackle still, but he's up there. He's having a great year, so they're doing pretty good. And at the end of the game, you get an awkward Andrew Luck interview where he just kind of nods to the.
That guy's
camera.
the best.
He's just, oh man, he's like every man. Besides the fact,
how would you like to be Andrew Luck's PR guy?
I love it. Like everyone loves him. No one hates. Well, maybe people in his vision, but. He's kind of weird, but people like us can connect to him more so than we connect to someone like Tom Brady.
But chances are, if someone hates him, a lot of people also love him.
True.
Andrew Luck, you're just this awkward Civil War colonel, which is still the greatest Twitter account of all time.
But
it's even better when they're actually playoff relevant.
I'll say, in actuality, he might be the most. It seems like he is, but it seems like he might be the person that common people can't really relate with if they actually knew him. Because he's such a weirdo. He's so smart. He's probably the smartest off-the-field quarterback in NFL history.
That's a genius.
And, he's really good at football, too. That's something that the common man really can't relate to, but just the way he acts is something that people can relate to.
It's true.
So
really awkward on TV.
Hey, we kind of are, too. So
it's this podcast. Most people can't see us.
Hey, we're on Facebook Live. It's
At least we hope.
All right, well, that's the Colts for both of us, helping their playoff chances. And we'll go to the battle of the state of Florida. I guess Bucs are left out of this one, but the Jags at the Dolphins.
Man, what some great teams here. Dolphins are playing for a lot. Jags play terribly. They don't care. This season's lost. I don't know what they're doing. Doug Marone's probably going to get fired.
Yeah.
It's a mess over there. I got to give the Dolphins team that's still actually playing for something.
Me too. Cody Kessler's all I got to say about this. He's not going to lead a big win over a playoff competing team, especially on the road, even if it is a short travel distance.
Yep.
Bills at Patriots.
Patriots. If it was in Buffalo, I'd have some reservations this time of year. I don't know. I like the Bills. I've been liking the Bills. They did well again to win me a game at home last week. But Patriots, they know what they need to do. They're still in contention for a first round bye there in the second overall seed. Bill Belichick's not going to lose to a bad Bills team. I mean, they've gotten better, sure, but this is still New England Patriots.
I think the Bills keep it closer than people think.
Sure.
But yeah, Patriots are going to win. Josh Allen will rush for a couple yards. That's how it's going. He just can't beat people with his arm yet at a great level. So that's what's the difference between these two teams. Patriots will be able to win the game with Tom Brady, and Bills will get another early pick.
There you go.
Packers at Jets.
I'm going. This one is hard.
Jets are playing better.
Jets are playing better, but still, it's the Packers.
You haven't been this stumped since 2014.
This is just two bad teams. I gotta go with my team. I'm going with the Packers here. I mean, Jets aren't playing that. I mean, they played well against the Texans, sure. They are playing the Meadowlands. Will be a little harder. Aaron Rodgers going to another team, but still, I like his talent play. They aren't playing for anything. Sure, it's ready for them to pack up, but then the Jets aren't really playing for anything either. It's a pride game. Give me Rodgers.
I'm going Packers too. Jets, promising. I think they're promising for next year. I'm not saying like they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but promising start. And the problem in this game is Sam Darnold is the quarterback. He's going to turn it over. I think they are promising for Sam Darnold for next year and everything. Jamal Adams.
Dude, they aren't doing anything.
They're not doing anything next year.
Nope.
You don't think they win 6 games next year?
6 games? That's not doing anything.
That's promising for the
6 and 10 is doing something on your second
for
quarterback?
the Jets. Yes.
Okay.
It's relative. The Browns winning 6 games this year. That is doing something.
All right, fine. They're doing. If 6 and 10 is doing something, they will do something next year.
I think for Jets fans, you have to be somewhat pumped. I mean, they have no talent on the roster.
They don't.
Yeah, they're over.
All right, 6-10 it is.
All right. We do have a comment. Talk about Marvin Lewis and how terrible he is, please, from Alex Silvati. Would you do better as coach than Marvin Lewis?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because at this point, their play calling's bad. They're never aggressive. They play ultra conservative anytime they get even the semblance of a lead. Then I don't know what he does at halftime. They lose every halftime adjustment, it seems like. Every other coach seems to be 3 steps ahead of Marvin.
Yeah.
His personnel decisions off-season stuff, I don't think are that bad. But I don't think anyone ever around's going, Marvin Lewis's personnel, because that's not what he is. He's not a GM. If they want to move him in the front office, fine. I don't think that's the worst thing on earth. But man, that guy, when it comes to actual in-season development, does not know what he's doing.
Yeah.
The Bengals should fire him. My only worry is that we're going to get Hugh Jackson, and I just don't want to really sit through another 5 years of him being terrible before Mike Brown finally gives up.
Yeah.
There's the rant. Yeah, he asked for it.
He's really bad.
Yeah, he's really bad. That's all I got. I mean, I'm not going to talk anymore.
Not going to talk anymore.
Nothing.
If it would help, I mean, here's the thing. If they fired Marvin and got Hugh, I'd be like all for it so they could tank next year for Tua, but they wouldn't fire Hugh Jackson the next year, and they would ruin Tua unless he's like Baker Mayfield or something and just plays well, but the team loses. But yeah, he's really bad. I think this is like one of the most egregious guys who keeps his job of all time.
Like, he can't keep it again after this year. Unless they went out or beat the Steelers in Week 17 or something, there is no argument you can make that he should keep his job. But he may still do it because it's Mike Brown. But, I mean, he should have been fired 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There's no reason at this
10
point.
years ago, 2008. Okay.
We could have gone
Actually,
further.
true. That's true because they had that playoff.
They had 05, give them 06, 07 even maybe, but by 08 he should have done.
09 they made the playoffs again, so 08 probably, yeah.
We should have been fired.
Most organizations would have.
But, I mean, his team's going nowhere. It's never going to go anywhere with Marvin Lewis. It's never going to go anywhere without a GM. There's no direction to this team. It's just mediocrity. It's playing, with an arm behind your back because we don't have a GM. We don't have a very good scouting department. We have like 2 scouts. Every other team has at least 10. It's because Mike Brown is cheap. He doesn't want to spend any money on the team. Yet, people stop going to games. So there's an end game that's coming here that no one's going to show up to the stadium anymore. Mike Brown is finally going to get hit in his wallet maybe, and maybe he'll hire a GM. But that would cause him to pay somebody, which he doesn't want to do. It's a mess. It's the worst. Arguably, you can say it's the worst run franchise in sports today. Of professional sports.
So
you could honestly make that argument. Browns are actually doing well now, so you can't make that argument anymore. So who is it? Who is actually worse?
Raiders.
Right now.
Yeah, but they don't have the whole history of being... Yeah.
Raiders just got Gondry in 1 year. At least they fired Jack Del Rio, who they probably shouldn't even fired. So I don't... Yep. There you go.
There you go. That's the
There's my rant.
We'll move back to picks. We have a good one coming up. That'll get you in a better mood. Texans and Eagles. And this is going to be an interesting one to watch at the very least.
I'm going Texans here. Eagles, I don't think they have to get it done. Nick Foles and this superstition of him at the end of seasons doing well is very weird. But Texans are fighting for his second overall seed, first round bye, everything on the table for them. Philly is a hard place to play. I'll give them that. Deshaun Watson's coming up from Houston in that dome to play in a very, very, very hostile crowd. But I got to give it to the Texans here. They're just a way better team. Eagles somehow pulled it off against a Rams team that I think just completely overlooked them.
St. Nick is coming to town, but he's not going to win this game. My issue is the corners with the Eagles did have a very good game against the Rams, and they had Avonte Maddox playing pretty well on the outside. He usually plays slot. I don't think that can stay. It's not going to stay going when you have DeAndre Hopkins coming at you. So I know he's questionable right now. He's going to play. So with that being said, Deshaun Watson, the colder weather does create somewhat of an issue for me, but I think you could just run a bunch of slants and curl routes and stuff to DeAndre Hopkins. He'll figure it out.
Yeah. And the defense will do enough against Nick Foles.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Falcons-Panthers.
I'm going Falcons. You know what? Panthers have shown no signs of life. Like the entire second, they've lost. Is it 6 or 7 straight now?
They were 6-2. Now they're 6-8. So 6.
6 straight. That's absolutely terrible. That's literally the second half of the season. They have not won a game since week 9, I guess, whenever their bye was. Mm-hmm. So they are horrid. I think you got to fire Riverboat Ron at this point. I know Cam Newton's hurt, but how can you explain a 6-game slide? You can't. It's not explainable. It's not excusable. Teams have skids. You can't lose an entire second half of a season. Straight up. I don't care what your excuse is, whether there's injuries, Cam's not 100%. I mean, how can a head coach keep his job? They were technically have been in the wild card. All they had to do was win, 1 or 2 of these very winnable games they played. And they're still right in the thick of it. They could beat the Falcons this week. And then we'll see what happens. Maybe the Saints even rest their starters and they make it in as the 6th seed. But no, they can't win one of these games. I think Riverboat Ron should be out. I think Turner should be out. I mean, there's nothing. The only good thing is some of the young receivers have come together. But other than that, and Christian McCaffrey has looked good too. But everything else is just awful. Yeah. So I'm going with Falcons here. At least they know what they're doing. They may be not a great team, but they're not one that's just on a slide of epic proportions right now.
Falcons might be another team where everyone gets fired too, though. It's kind of crazy, but... Very
true, but at least, it's been inconsistency all year. I can't pick a team that's lost 6 straight.
Yeah, I'm going Falcons too. On a personal note, I want to see Ron Rivera in the league.
Riverboat Ron, man. But he's a great character.
Not in this job anymore. He can't be. Cam Newton's shoulder has given them plenty of limitations. I think that does mean something, but they have to either find a way to use him or bench him. You can't sit there and have him be ineffective. Like, him being out there is not going to help your team if that's the case.
Nope.
Don't be afraid to run with him if he has a shoulder injury. Yeah, it might hurt him, but if he says he's good enough to play, you got to use him. So they're probably all going to be fired. I don't know exactly how a team does this, loses a lot of games, teams they should beat like that after playing well, and they have like a somewhat solid defense, but Falcons are going to win. Julio Jones has been going off lately, so that's good news for the Falcons. The Panthers have more to play for, but this is one of the cases where it just doesn't matter to me that that's the case.
Nope.
Rams at Cardinals.
Rams. Without a doubt, Cardinals offense doesn't know what they're doing. Rams are coming off 2 ugly losses, sure, but still in contention for a first overall seed. No reason they're going to lose this game to Arizona.
Yeah, perfect game a bounce back game.
Get back on the wagon, man.
Yeah, Cardinals, the chances you lose are pretty low. Get the confidence up, run some trick plays, go deep, do all that stuff. Get the confidence flowing again for the Rams, and especially the defense too. That'd be very nice to get that confidence back up. Bears at 49ers.
Gotta go Bears. They are one of the more complete teams it's looking like right now. They're looking good. This is the right time of year to get hot again. Mitchell Trubisky isn't throwing, for 400 yards at the beginning of the season like he was, but still, he's doing a lot. Going to make some cold weather games. Tariq Cohen has looked absolutely great. They still have Jordan Howard to pound the rock for him if they absolutely need to. Soldier Field's a cold place to play. They're not playing there this week, but they're doing well. I like what the defense is doing, first of all, and defense wins championships at the end of the day. So give me the Bears. They may be locked on the 3 seed, but the sky's the limit with this team, honestly.
Yeah, 49ers do have Nick Mullins, and that's cool. Defense still has issues, and the offense is finding playmakers like Dante Pettis for next year and Jeffrey Wilson, too.
Yep.
It's a year of growth. It's not a year of they're going to compete, and they can't beat, I don't think, really, really good teams. Seahawks are a good team, but Bears should win. Defense will win out.
I mean, they should be happy with how well they are doing after playing through so much adversity out there. Mm-hmm. Kyle Shanahan looks like a very good head coach. I mean, it's hard to coach through something like this. Your starting quarterback you spend all this money on goes down. His backup, who does all right, goes down. You get Nick Mullins, a guy no one even has ever heard of, and who knows what his future will hold. He's playing lights out for him as much as he can with the limitations of his talent. Mm-hmm. So I give it to him. I give it to the coaching staff. This 49ers team looks like a team that could be good. Not maybe because they're going to have all-star talent next year, but just because they're a good team. They're a team. They play well. they fight through injuries and struggles, because that's what the NFL is, the ultimate day. It doesn't matter who has the best talent in the beginning of the year. Injuries will happen. It's about how well you can go through adversity. That's why I love football, and that's why I do respect this 49ers team, regardless of how they finish the season.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll have to see roster additions in the offseason. They get a decent pick. Free agency, they can really shore up a lot of issues they have. Like, they found Dante Pettis. No one knows what's going on with Marquise Goodwin. Pierre Garçon is aging. Is Richard Sherman, is he the corner that they're going to use? A lot of different things they got to figure out.
Yep.
Steelers at Saints. Next one up.
Saints. I can't pick against Drew Brees in the Dome. That easy. Steelers are not a very good team. They got some weapons on offense, sure. But the defense is nothing to write home about by any means. Saints could put up 40 points like they do sometimes at home, and Steelers won't be able to keep up with that. I don't think Big Ben really has this lingering injury. I think there's something that hurts. James Conner will probably be back. That'll help the offense a little bit, but it's just not a very good team. It's just they're a byproduct of a very weak division within the AFC, and it's going to be shown what they are against the Saints this week. So I think the Saints will win by at least 2 possessions.
I think it's a little bit closer than that.
Okay.
I know it was outside, but they played a Panthers team that is just reeling, and they did not play well. There's
True, but that is interdivision as well.
That is. But I think the Steelers' defense is actually better than a lot of people expected. They're shutting down the run at least. Drew Brees is the X factor in this game. He's had to come back and have a good game after playing poorly, which is not too tough for Drew Brees, but I think it might be a little bit closer. I think it might be like a touchdown game. Steelers keep it close. They found some new confidence against the Patriots, but at the end of the day, they have their own issues that are just too much to overcome.
Sure.
Let's go with Chiefs at Seahawks Sunday Night Football.
I'm going Seahawks here. I like the home field advantage. It's going to be a little harder for a rookie like Pat Mahomes to communicate.
Not a rookie.
That's true. Second-year guy. First-year starter. All right.
Does that change anything with the loud noise? I don't think so.
It doesn't. It's his first year starting. That is a tough environment, even for a veteran to go into. I know Pat Mahomes has a lot of talent. I'm not saying they're going to get blown out. I think it's going to be very close. But I got to give it an edge to the home team and a team that's, calling for a playoff spot right now. I mean, they got a very good run game. Russell Wilson, they can do enough on offense to maybe keep up with the Chiefs, and it's really all up to if Pat Mahomes makes those mistakes. And I think with the crowd noise and being away all the way on the West Coast, he could, make some errors.
I make that mistake all the time, too, of Patrick Mahomes as a rookie, just because he didn't seem last year, besides one game at the end of the year that didn't matter. I'm going Chiefs this one. I think they're a much better team than the Seahawks. Seahawks have beaten teams, I think in a sense that, they control the game. If they can control the game, they win. I don't think they control the game against the Chiefs. That's the difference in this one. Chiefs are a team that obviously need to try to keep on winning. If they lose this one and they're 11-4, and then the Texans win, that's going to be close.
Yep.
So I think the Chiefs have a lot to play for. Seahawks, they did just lose to the 49ers, Nick Mullins. And I know we're talking about Nick Mullins and everything, but he's still not great.
I did that whole adversity speech.
I know. But it's the Seahawks. Seahawks have some issues of their own. And another playoff team that has some issues losing to the freaking 49ers. But, I'll go Chiefs.
Cool.
Monday Night Football, last Monday Night Football game of the year.
Thank God.
But it's probably not going to be a fun one. It is Broncos at Raiders.
Gosh. Broncos, they technically have something to play for, I guess. Raiders have looked better. They lost the Bengals last week, but we're talking about a team that just looked like a dumpster fire for most of the year. At least they look like they're starting to figure some stuff out, at least on offense, defense, if they don't get penalties or do something stupid. They could be good. They have a lot of young talent. They got Arden Key. They got Maurice Hurst out there, too. Some good talent. Those are first rounders that fell later in the draft. I think the offensive line's fine for him. It's really the development of Derek Carr, who's looking like he's starting to get back on track at least. And they just don't really have anything else on offense right now. So it's really hard to gauge them as a good team, but at least they're improving and have something to at least build upon starting next season.
We hope.
Let's hope.
They're going to get a couple.
If they have it, the other thing they should build on is a new stadium because they don't know where they're going to play.
It's very hard. They do have 3 first-round picks, but they fired the general manager. They don't have a home next year, so
God, they are just a team. Maybe they are worse franchise
and
than the Bengals.
this is not a great draft class either. So I don't know where they go. And and you just mentioned
Trade them back down for more draft picks.
that might be the Brown strategy now.
And they're
going
to have 70 first. They're going to have all 32 first round picks one year.
But like it just makes no sense to me. Like the guy got you these first round picks. Like either you fire him right after he does that because you're mad, or you don't fire him until like he gets a chance to use them. I don't.
At
get
least they didn't do what the Chiefs did that one year, where they fired their general manager right before the draft.
Yeah.
And
they had to scramble together what to do.
Still,
and the other thing was they couldn't hire someone associated with another team because
it was
of
tampering.
So they had to almost go to they had to hire from within, which was fine. But they almost had to hire Mike Mayock of NFL Network because of that.
Isn't that so comical? How what could a GM do that you're stupid enough to be like, yeah, we'll fire him right before the draft? Yeah, there's only like the biggest talent acquisition period of the year that really can set how a team works for the next decade. If you draft the right guys, let's fire the GM who's been working on it.
And guess what he's doing now? He's with the Browns, and he's doing well.
Yeah,
and he also found them Patrick Mahomes.
But no, he deserved to be fired. Why did they fire him right before the draft?
I don't remember what they never really gave a reason. They just said he's fired.
Probably got in a fight or something.
They're like, hey, we didn't get to the playoffs. We didn't do well in the playoffs again this year. Well, that makes sense.
I'm not the coach.
Yeah. Anyway, Raiders do have those issues. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks for next year. It's good to have something like Arden Keen, Maurice Hurst, and the offensive line to go off of. Mark Davis needs to clean some stuff up for next year.
Get a haircut. Yeah, including his hair
style. So Broncos win. Not really a fun one. Probably skip this Monday night. Get ready for the
I really
holidays and all that stuff.
I don't even know anybody. I mean, I guess Phil Lindsay's playable. He should have a good game at least. So
Jared Cook, Phil Lindsay, Jared Cook.
That's it.
Cortland Sutton, maybe.
Yeah, that's a big maybe. I don't trust that guy at all.
Doug Martin,
maybe. Derek Carr. I wouldn't start him against the Broncos. So yeah, it's a snoozer. Really no fantasy implications. And if you're really hoping for Philip Lindsay and Jared Cook at the end of your game, it's probably not very bright for you. So, not a great game. But luckily, it's only Week 16. Then we get to the real fun. Week 17. For all those people out there that do play Week 17, it is a great fantasy time.
Oh, yeah.
You know why?
Get depth.
Yeah, that's why you get depth. Everyone that's so mad, it's like my star player isn't playing. I'm like, that's why you get depth. That's why you plan for this during the season instead of just going, what do you mean he's getting benched? I'm like, you know who probably is going to be the first overall seed by probably Week 12? Start planning.
Yeah.
Draft some people. Get a backup plan. Trade the guy. Be smart. But, whatever. Their loss, our gain. I just really want the Chiefs to win this week because then maybe Pat Mahomes gets benched next week because that's who I'm playing in the championship game. So there's that. I got Dalvin Cook. I've got Alvin Kamara. Baker Mayfield. Please bring me back a championship. I haven't won. I've been in this league that I'm in. I have been in it for 12 years. League's been existing for 14. This is our 14th championship game. It's competitive. A lot of people. I need some money. I need to buy some things. So pray for me. We'll be back next week. We'll be able to check in on all the halftimes, all the fantasy matchups. For all those people who play 1 week fantasy games, whatever, that's just short-term daily fantasy gambling. You gotta play the real stuff. You gotta play that 2-week playoff format. At me on Twitter. I don't care. We'll start a Twitter fight. Whatever. I'm out.
Yeah, so like you said, everything is pretty peachy this week. We have one disagreement on a game, and that is Chiefs and Seahawks.
Jesus.
But next week is where it's fun, not just for fantasy, because that's definitely fun, Week 16 and 17, but also NFL with all these different scenarios going on. So with that being said, any other final thoughts?
I went on my tirade.
All right, back next week, Week 17 picks. Fantasy advice for anyone in the middle of that matchup, or if you don't play Week 17 or do the 1 week thing, then, we'll help you out with that too. Maybe next year. You have some ideas for next year already. And we'll also do Team of the Week and everything else, talk about playoffs and all the good stuff there. For now, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.